Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Out here on the West Coast, it is about 9 o'clock, and it's about noon out there in Atlanta, is it not, Jamal?
Yes, it is noon Eastern, brother.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, I have Jamal Gary back with me from Atlanta by way of Chicago. Unfortunately, a couple of our other guests couldn't make it this morning. Some last minute things popped up. I did run into another cruiser last night, though. I was willing to have him on if he had the time, but unfortunately, Mr. Gabriel Iglesias was a little bit busy after his show, so we never really ironed that out. But the standing invite for Mr. Iglesias, if he ever wants to pop on and talk some wrestling with us. I know he's a big fan. He took a big financial hit, a little bit of a downgrade to join us on Jericho Cruise 2, as the story goes, and had some awesome stories for us with that. Were you on 2? Were you not, Jamal? You're a 6-timer.
Yeah, well, soon be six timer. Yep. So I was on
Yep.
too. Absolutely.
Yeah, and he did a great set for us.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
he was really
I
cool.
I may have accidentally recorded some of it. So he does a great Stone Cold Steve Austin impression. Has a great story about his time on the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast. Yeah, accidentally left my phone on there. Sorry, Gabe. But what can you do? Anyways, so we're going one-on-one here. Now, I had really, really hoped that one of our guests was going to be able to make it for this discussion because it was his sort of inspiration. Dez was putting on a totally Arctic wrestling show last weekend. He had an intergender match on that card, and I really wanted to pick his brain about that. But instead, you and I are just gonna go back and forth. Where do you stand on the intergender matches these days, Jamal? It's a touchy subject. Um, what do you feel about them right off the top of your head?
I don't mind them, really. As long as it makes sense, as long as the story makes sense. I believe first time that I'm sure I've seen them like way in the past before, as I've been watching
Hmm.
wrestling for so many years. But the first time that I really saw like intergender matches that was like really watching and heavily invested was Lucha Underground days because they used
Right.
to have them regularly. And at
Hmm.
first, it was kind of like, oh, okay, like this is interesting because I'm the type of person I'm trying to be open minded. The business is always changing, always evolving. Sure. And when I first saw like Chelsea Green and Tessa Blanchard and like so many other girls was going against guys like Penta and so many other guys in that group, and I was like, oh,
Hmm.
okay, this is pretty cool, and it does show that the girls can actually go and compete with the guys. So I thought that was really cool. So I don't mind it personally, as long as it's not like done every week and they try to like overdo it. As long as it fits with the story and makes sense, I'm all for it.
Yeah, so I mean, you make a good point. It needs to make sense. It really does. I remember going back to the days, and I know this caused a lot of issues for WCW in the mid '90s, and I think it actually led to Jackie Moore heading to WWE. But Disco Inferno and Jackie Moore were, hooking it up on Nitro there. That sounded weird, but Disco apparently had a problem losing to Jackie. Jackie, ahead of her time, she was a bad stick of wood, and I believe Ron Simmons coined the phrase "unfuckwithable," and that just seems Jackie to me. Uh, but I mean, it did, and I'm sure it went back to the '70s. Like Andy Kaufman as well, but it wasn't quite the same. Um, he wasn't. Andy was doing his thing with the intergender, and it was let's just say you could see some daylight in between the maneuvers and the strikes and everything there. Not quite as taken seriously. But I mean, we've seen ladies like Sensational Sherry was also just a massively tough individual. Moolah, Mae Young, and it's a touchy subject. And what occurs to me is, are we at a point in society where we are too evolved, too socially conscious to do an intergender match, or are we too socially conscious not to do it with the equality, especially given, like, you dropped some names, Chelsea Green, like, she is wonderfully talented. Let's look at Tessa Blanchard, who actually held the TNA world title.
Mhm.
amazingly talented. Now, Tessa allegedly has some personality things where she may not get along well with everybody. Um, but I don't know her personally. I'm not privy to locker rooms. All we know as fans is, we just read what we read. We listen to what we listen to. It's hard to comment because we don't know a lot of the backstory. But just look at the women's rosters everywhere. Some of these ladies, I believe, would legitimately beat up a lot of the roster.
Yeah.
I can't see Rhea Ripley not beating up Dom Mysterio at some point in the near future,
Oh yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
right? Like it's sooner or later, it's gonna be keep the title away from Rhea for a while, and she's gonna have enough with Dom's interference. I could feel it. I feel it's gonna be like that old when Undertaker got Vince McMahon in the Buried Alive match. It's like you can have any match you want if you. It's like I want a match with you. Oh, me? Fuck. Um, and then she can rip that mustache straight off of his face because boy, does that irritate me. But
See,
we
he's doing his job though. He's doing his
oh,
job.
he absolutely is. I have a great deal of respect for what Dom Mysterio is doing. He is doing a great job. It reminds me a lot of The Miz, where he's not doing a whole lot um, in ring wise to really impress or draw heat. But boy, howdy, all he has to do is walk in front of the camera, and that arena just hates him. And it's almost and we know he's married in real life, but there's also that same like that Billy Kidman, David Flair heat where it's like you, you, and you too. No, no,
Right.
no.
Like, how does that work?
Yeah, right. Exactly. And and Rhea's quite happy with Buddy Matthews. So but it's just one of those things. It's like, but you look like you just crawled out of the back of the trailer park, bro. Um, okay. And that's another thing about Dom. He's got that Eddie Guerrero early 90s thing going on.
100%, 100%.
And they don't really call it out yet. But boy, howdy, I cannot wait for that to happen. Because I mean, ladder match for the custody of Dominic Part 2 may be coming up.
Yeah, yeah, who knows? But yeah, like you're right about the whole like because when he started with Judgment Day and his starting letting all his hair grow out, I instantly saw Eddie because that's like when Eddie turned heel. It's like he let his hair grow out. It's like he didn't comb or brush or anything. He just looked like he just walked out of bed and he just absolutely just looked miserable. When he saw fans just walking out, he just looked
Mm-hmm.
miserable. Like screw each and every one of you. Why am I here? Like it just gave you that like ugh vibe.
Yeah, that 90s heel Eddie Guerrero on Nitro. Like when it's the Eddie Guerrero mullet versus the Diamond Dallas Page mullet. The just that that his Dom's entire luck. It doesn't take much. You just got to look up an old Eddie Guerrero Nitro match. You're like, oh, okay, I see what he's doing. Um, I'm not sure if yeah, you know what? I'm going to flat out say it. Dom is not as skilled as Eddie. However, there's only a couple of guys ever in the business as skilled as Eddie. As far as I'm concerned, Eddie is 1C next to Flair and Shawn Michaels. And I think he was probably 6 months away from proving that had he actually made it to the WrestleMania where they had planned Shawn Michaels versus Eddie Guerrero. Um,
Oh,
it's
so
just
that could have been potentially the plan, really?
that was Bruce Pritchard has gone on record um, saying that the plan for the next WrestleMania, had Eddie not passed, was Shawn and Eddie.
Fuck. So that would have been Chicago.
Yes.
Fuck. Well, my mom wouldn't have took me anyway because we were broke. Damn, that was. But damn. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
and that's been confirmed by a lot of people. I think Jim Ross has confirmed that. A lot of insiders have said, "Yeah, no, that was the plan. That's where we were heading with that Eddie versus Shawn for that Mania." And you look at Eddie's former work, and it is flawless, absolutely flawless. His in ring work, his extracurricular activities, kind of not so much. He was really lucky to have made it that far, but I think had he had that match with Shawn, we would be talking one A, B, and C.
Yeah, especially that match Sean had with Kurt that year before, which was
Hmm.
incredible. And then after that, him and Eddie. Oh man, that is damn. That would be
Well, yeah, I
incredible.
mean, go back 1 year, it was Sean and Kurt, and you go back a year before that, it was Kurt and Eddie, right? So like mix and match that.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong.
Nope.
Anyways, we're off topic on the intergender thing. So it like where do you stand on like are we too societally aware to put this on TV? Because I think the problem is it's a bit of a minefield with, well, now you have a man beating up a woman on TV. Well, yeah, but she's gonna beat his ass on pay-per-view. You want to pay to see it?
Yeah.
Or like it just seems like such a problematic thing to do on a large scale, no matter how much we want to see it. I mean, we saw China in there in the mix with Jericho and Hardcore Holly, and she was in there with the King of the Ring tournament when it was basically the four remaining members at DX,
Yeah.
um, China and Road Dogg and China and X Pac. We seem to settle with that okay. It was the Attitude Era. It was a little edgier. Um, where do you think society is at with it? I mean, not just as a wrestling fan. If you were to be sitting with somebody that's not a wrestling fan, you turn on the TV, or maybe even just sitting out at a pub watching it on TV. Like, where do you think it would land society?
Uh, Unfortunately, well, see, pro wrestling we know is basically its own world. As
Hmm.
popular as it is, as much as it's grown, and especially as of late in the past couple years, it's still kind of its own universe in a way compared from to society. I personally
Hmm.
still don't think society is necessarily like ready for that. Like, I mean, depending on who the wrestler is and how much of a heel of a prick he is, I guarantee you, if he actually struck one of the women on the
Hmm.
roster, they would get so much heat from fans and
Hmm.
sponsors and all this other stuff. And then they would have to put out a press release. Even if they wanted to be try and be innovative, I don't care what company you are, if they wanted to try that angle, they would get so much heat, unfortunately, because it is it is a touchy subject. It really is, and I understand why people feel that way because nobody, even though everybody know it's fictional, it's story driven. People still would get kind of a little heated or upset about it because
Hmm.
the second you see a man strike a woman, especially coming from even from your point of view, you're a dad girl. Like I have three
Yep.
nieces. It's one of those things. It just makes you just go, I don't.
Hmm.
It
I
makes
mean,
you feel a type of way. Yeah.
it does. I mean, I remember when Randy Orton had that brief heel baby face turn coming out of Evolution. You remember how they turned him heel?
Hmm.
RKO'd Stacy Keibler in the middle of the ring,
Yeah.
and that was it.
Me being a
Um,
Stacy fan, as much as I love those legs, I was like, no,
yeah,
no.
yeah, bad Randy, bad. I wasn't. I was just sort of in the early stages of being a huge Randy Orton fan there, but the same way I'm like, oh fuck this guy. But at the same time, and here's a point that was brought up by in a chat offline with Alex out in Philly. There's a double standard. It is pro wrestling, so it's fake. Everybody knows it. I don't like using the F word. It's scripted. It is not real. It is television. It is a live play. Whatever you want to say about it. The haters love using the F word, the fake word.
Mhm.
And at the same time, those same people come around. It's like, but now you're showing man on woman violence, and this is a problem. So which is it? Are we a TV show and a live stage where you need the man on woman violence is usually going to be designed to make you want to see the guy beat up, or are we setting realism into it going, oh well, no, you can't do that? It's like, I don't. Advertisers are a thing, and I as much as I would love to see some of these women get their shot, like why can't we have China winning the Royal Rumble in '99, or Nia Jax, or Karma, and closing WrestleMania? Josh, how's it going, buddy? Mongo from Cruising with Kayfabe. Yeah,
What's up,
OG
buddy?
Cruiser. it there it's just such a weird double standard, but there is some money to be made. I mean, we are like China had money to be made with the guys, and it just couldn't happen. Um, and not only that, but some of these women are just tougher than most of the dudes in the locker room. We started on it with Jackie Moore, but 80-year-old Mae Young was taking power bombs through tables off stages from Bubba Dudley in
Yeah,
the early 2000s. Um, yeah, so Josh is bringing up one that I didn't know about, and this is fantastic. Chris Statlander on the Indies dressed as Orange Cassidy, and Orange dressed as
yeah.
Statlander having a match against
I
each other.
did see some of that. Yeah, it was really good. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look that one up. That sounds fun. That is just fun wrestling. It's not as serious as we need to see, China beat up Hardcore Holly or the going back to Dom and Rhea, because that's where it is. We don't necessarily need to see it all be serious either. Um, yeah, I think there's some money in that, and it's got to weigh on some of these guys going, yeah, but this is going to be good, and these girls are not in a position where it's, oh, we're you're going to get beat up tonight by this dude. They're in a position where they can go, yeah, I don't want to do that. If
Right.
it's a notoriously unsafe or stiff worker, then sure, why not? I mean, you're definitely in a position where, yeah, okay, they work a little snug, and we've all heard stories about it. We can see some of these people with the welts that form on the chests really quickly. Um, they have the right to go, yeah, I'm not comfortable with that. Is it great for their career? Eh, maybe not if they actually want to break into, being able to do intergender matches on a grand scale. But there's Dom and Rhea are a money pay-per-view match, and it doesn't have to be a brutal shit kicking. It will. Um, I mean, I think it absolutely will, because Rhea is just a beast, and I mean that in all the best ways. Um, I mean, it is, and looking at the AEW roster, Chris Statlander she can go. I think Willow Nightingale would be able to put on a really good match with people.
Yeah.
You seen any money matches out there that you would go, you know what, I could watch this in intergender wise?
Yeah, I mean, besides Rhea and Dom, because that's the main thing going on for sure. That's a big one. Yeah, Josh bring up a good point. Camille, that's something that can definitely happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think, like, as far as like Camille, what would be a good one uh for me? I'm trying to think of something style wise. It's a little bit difficult. I'm sure it'll come to me probably like later on. But Camille, I love to see her maybe go toe to toe with somebody like trying to figure out like, who's like a good like body guy she can go toe to toe with or something. Man,
Well, I mean, there's always Johnny TV.
yeah,
That's
like something like that. Like definitely like that would be cool. But man, it's like that's why I say like, intergender matches are kind of like hard for me to kind of pick because until I actually see it, I might go, oh, you know what,
right.
that looks pretty good. I haven't thought of that because it's not something we think about continuously
No.
because it's just not the norm. But yeah, Dom and Rhea, like if they can definitely do that right, where it's like Judgment Day can kind of like gain up on her, and maybe Dom just like clotheslines and stiffs the hell out of her, and then make people go like, "Ooh,
Yeah, get that ooh from the ooh
yeah."
crowd reaction,
Right. So it's
right? Like,
not like he like physically hit her or physically abused her. It was just like, oh man, just wait till she just gets along with him, like a strap match or a cage match or something. Be like, oh, he
right.
ain't got nowhere to go.
I
Nowhere to
don't know
go.
if I don't know if a strap match is appropriate for that,
Well,
but
maybe not, but it's like that he's nowhere where he can actually run. You know what I'm
right.
saying? Like, well, or like a lumberjack match or something like that, where he just can't run away. Where it's just like,
Yep.
oh, okay,
Yep.
like,
I I hear what you're saying. And I think that just leads to your point earlier where it's got to be story. I don't need to see an intergender match just for the sake of it. Just like we'll have these throw together matches on any wrestling program, and it's just, okay, well, you two go out and have the best match you can, and we'll see if something comes of it. I don't necessarily need to see that. because that's
Candlestick
just
beatdown.
begging for a problem. Um, yeah, and kendo stick beat down. She just whoops him. Absolutely,
Oh
that's
yeah, he Dom knows one thing or two about taking kendo stick shots. What was it that basically who I think it was during like the COVID time where somebody just literally whooped the hell out of Dom with a kendo stick. Who was it?
oh yeah, was that Seth when
Maybe
they
it
were doing
was maybe it was Seth. Maybe it was
when they
Seth.
were doing the whole the Ray loses his eye thing?
Yeah, it was around that angle, around that time, and he just like I remember Samoa Joe was calling it because he kept saying, "Yeah, whoop that trick." I was like, he was just going. He was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Yep, he's taking the beating."
Yeah, or tribal chief, tribal chief yeeting him out of the ring. Absolutely. And you've got that point where Dom, connects with the clothesline, drops Rhea. You know what I hear in my head? Picturing that instantaneously is the crowd chanting, "You fucked up."
Yeah,
They'd be like, "Oh, he actually got her with a good one." Well, where do we send the flowers? That's gonna be a problem. That
yep.
boy he ain't gonna be right after this. And
Nope.
but that's I don't know. I think it's tricky. I think I understand why we don't see it a lot in the mainstream. But like I said, I do think there's money on the table for it. I do think with the right story behind it and the right build, we can get money out of that. We could have gotten money out of, China having a um, less gimmicky intercontinental title run where she was splitting it with she beat Jarrett for it, but she was kind of splitting it with Chris Jericho for a while, or she was, helping Eddie Guerrero with it and all that. Um, yeah, there's just once in a while there's these female performers, and we have so many these days. We
Yeah,
have such
absolutely.
a glut of really, really talented female performers in the spotlight. They've always been there. If you look at any era of the WWE, even when it was the "I want athletic tens, pal" era, there was always female talent on the roster that could go. They were there to make the athletic 10 group look good. I mean, you go back to the late Attitude Era. We had Molly Holly, we had China, we had Ivory, we had Miss Jackie, and they were there propping up the Trish Stratuses. And Lita was kind of on the cusp of going either way, and both Trish and Lita turned out to be great workers. And
Yep.
that was another, Trish in there with Chris Jericho back in 2004, 5.
Yeah, they did have I think something back then. Yeah.
Yeah, because I definitely remember there was a probably not the best storyline to use where the Chris and Christian were they had a bet on the girls, much like Trading Places. It was like for a Canadian dollar,
You
which I
goddamn
thought
right,
was
Mondo. That's Canada's greatest export. Trish Stratus. You goddamn right.
yeah, uh, yep. I'm gonna agree to that. I love Bret Hart and all, but yeah, Trish is and as a performer, Trish really is a wonderful tale because we saw her evolve between 2000 and about 2008 or 9 where she was really at the peak of her game. I mean, she was athletic, but she was green when she first came in, to say the least. I don't know how much experience she had wrestling when she came in as the managerial type, and she was eye candy. It sounds degrading, but she was. That was her role.
Oh yeah,
And
no,
then she became
she admitted that she knew she was eye
yeah,
candy, but she used that to her advantage. Like, oh, if I'm just eye candy, yeah, watch me go do this then too.
yeah. And that worked. I remember watching someone was like, okay, Trish is in the match. Okay, so the shirt's coming off. She's gonna leave in her bra and panties or in a bikini. I'm like, well, did she just bounce off the rope and give that a bulldog? Is she not doing a handstand on the middle rope now? And
Yep.
it was a great evolution to the point where yeah, she was able to hold her own in there with Chris Jericho. And Chris is, by his own admission and by the admission of many other people who have commented on it, there's not a whole lot of daylight in Chris's working punches. It's he works a little stiff ski, and So if you're able to get in there and do that and draw money, let's see it. Let's not let's not hamper these women. Tessa Blanchard really, really made a big deal out of winning that TNA title. I think it was one of the things that put the TNA title with a little more prestige on it, because it happened and TNA was not in a good spot.
No.
Uh, who did she beat for that? Do you remember? Was it,
It was around. What was it around? 2000, 2000 wasn't it around like right before the
yeah, it was before the pandemic, and I think it
pandemic. I
was.
think something like that. I
Yeah,
can't remember off the top of my
was
head.
it Davey Richards or somebody? I think it was one half of the Wolves, and I can't remember the other guy's name now for the life of me, and it's gonna make me feel stupid when I remember it. But yeah, it was a legitimate competitor, like a legitimately good professional wrestling performer that had a lot of respect. And I think
Oh, I think I found it. I believe it was Sammy Callahan.
Callahan,
Yeah.
right? And Callahan, yeah, Callahan's can go. You know, if you get put over Callahan, he's going to make you basically kill him. He's not one of those. He's a tough dude, and he makes sure that. I think the old saying is, "I can't make you believe this is real, but I can make you believe I'm real."
Yeah.
And that Callahan is sort of fitting that niche. I haven't seen a whole lot out of him lately. I know there was some free agency, but he's sort of wherever he is and whatever he's doing. He put some prestige on that title.
Yeah.
The
No,
title,
for sure.
and
Absolutely.
that really transferred over well to Tessa. And I think she did good job putting that prestige on the title herself.
Yeah. So yeah, it was cool at least because I didn't actually see the match, but I heard about it and I was like, oh, okay, that's very innovative that they actually did that. And Sammy Callahan's cool, even though I still got a little bit of a.
A little bit of a
I don't hold it against him as much because it happened so long ago, though. But
mm-hmm.
a little bit of heat.
Not a good personal experience.
No. It's just unfortunately he was the reason why we all got sent to bed early on Cruise One. Unfortunately.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that, you know what, that happens. We all have we all have talent that we've run into. It's like, yeah, you know what, you and I may not be exchanging Christmas cards.
No.
Um,
He's cool. It's just the fact that it's just everybody was out partying on the boat. It's like 4 a.m. Everybody having a great time, and next thing you know, he decides to power drive a fan on the deck, and security is like, "Okay, y'all need to shut it down and go back to y'all rooms now." So it's like, "Oh, he just kind of killed the party here," and it's like, "Wow, thanks. Yeah, we were just
um,
vibing right now. Now we gotta go back to our rooms. Like, this is some BS."
yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, when you've killed the party, I think, and I know we talk about we talk about the cruise a lot on here because I got a lot of cruisers. It's part of the fun because, we get to different experiences, different areas of the world, and yeah, that party doesn't really stop. I know we have many mutual friends that are like, yeah, I got on the boat and I'm going to the airport now so I can finally sleep for the first time in 4 days. Um, and that's fine. If that's how you want to do it, like, more power to you. I know I was up late and surprised the shit out of you on the last cruise. It's like, why the fuck are you up? It's like 2 a.m. Like, I can go. I'm just, it takes me 3 days to recover. I'm gonna be a mess. Yeah. So we're dropping new stories. Sharonica, thanks for tuning in. I love it. Yeah. And if you're out there and you're listening to us, I can see the numbers dance here. So feel free to jump in the comment section and add to it, especially for what we're going to get into now. So unfortunately, we've had another string of wrestler deaths recently. I don't want to say it's the good kind, but I feel like it's less tragic. We've lost some guys just because they're up there. These aren't the 20-year-olds, the 30-year-olds that have passed away on the road. Most recently, we lost Kevin Sullivan, Sid Udy, Psycho Sid, Sid Vicious, and we've lost both Wild Samoans. All I think Alpha passed a few months back. But we basically lost Sika, Sid, and Kevin Sullivan really close together again, and that always seems to be the way with celebrity deaths, wrestling deaths. Period. Um, and so it got me thinking. I don't know how religious you are. I have a pastor mom, so I've spent a lot of time thinking about what happens after we're done here. So I got to think, it's like, what are we looking at for a card in the afterlife? Wrestling fans are going to heaven. We love watching wrestling. If the guys are up there doing stuff, they love being in the ring. So what John, yeah, John bless.
John
Johnny
bless.
is
John
religious,
bless.
absolutely.
Shout
John,
out to you, shout out to you, Johnny. Hope everything's well, and congratulations on your new lady. Congratulations, sir.
absolutely. Yeah. Wow, John, way to outkick your coverage, buddy. Very nicely done, my friend. And thanks for joining us. So, and this is perfect for everybody in the comment section. So, we're in the afterlife, we're sitting at a show. What matchups would you say would be the most interesting to you to have a look at? I have a small list because I've thought of this for a good chunk of my week, because my job really involves watching a scale either go up or go down. So I have some downtime when I'm doing it. Um, any thoughts there, Jamal?
So you say like even the afterlife, so it's just like the wrestlers, they all had to be deceased, correct?
Yes.
Mm.
Or even just somebody that's passed that you could want to see hook it up with somebody that's still with us.
Yeah, so that would probably be a little bit easier for me for sure. I think with deceased and currently right now,
Mm-hmm.
but I do want to say real quick too. Yeah, Alpha and Sika literally died, I believe, 2 months apart, which I know they were up there in age, so it sounded like it was their time. We all go at some
Mm-hmm.
point though. But even in twins, they couldn't be apart from each other for too long. That just shows the bond
Right?
between twins. Like it's like, nope, he's gone. I gotta go with my brother. Like, but
Yeah.
want to throw up the ones for him. Like, I acknowledge Watson's. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, that's a large family. Um, so I'm going to throw one of mine out real quick because
Yeah.
it does feature both the Wild Samoans. So I'm going bloodline, beta test bloodline is what I'm going to call this, in a Survivor Series match. The Wild Samoans, Umaga, and Yokozuna.
Mm,
And we're going to put some beef on the other side of the ring because that's a big bad team right there. And we know Samoans can work. Big John Studd, Bam Bam Bigelow, Big Van Vader, and Sid Vicious.
wow.
So
Wow.
we're gonna get beefy on that one.
Yeah, it's a lot of meat, as the fans will chant nowadays. Meat.
Meat.
So
Yep.
I dig that, man, for
Yeah.
sure.
Josh wants to see the tag team disintegrate. Dynamite and Davey. I don't think we ever got that.
Yeah, I don't think
Um,
so either. That's a great
I
one.
I
Wow.
think in their younger days, absolutely up in Calgary when they were both super skinny before they, let's say, spent a lot of time in the gym and bulked up. Um, Even though both were very open about their use of, let's call them, vitamins. Um, but yeah, like when they left the WWE, those two just sort of went separate ways. I mean, there was a little bit of work in Japan and Calgary, but Davey just kind of took a WCW contract and left Dynamite in the dust because Dynamite was not a great person and going through a lot of stuff on his personal life as well as his injury. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And then, Johnny Cadillac coming in, Guerrero versus Owen Hart. Yes,
Yeah, I
please.
was I was I was sort of gonna get to that. I mean, Owen wasn't my pick, but Lord knows I was getting Eddie. That's for sure.
Yeah, I actually have that written down in my notes as well. So there we go. So for you, what are you thinking here?
Man. So most people that know me knows that the person I miss the most is Eddie. He was
Hmm.
just something special, man. Like, you can put Eddie in the ring with damn near anybody, and you're getting quality. Period.
Yeah.
Uh, so like when I thinking like Eddie Guerrero like versus someone who's already in the afterlife already. Owen's a great one for sure, but I was gonna say like Owen versus a Dynamite Kid, and I would say as far as someone who's living, I would put Brian Danielson up against Eddie. Like that.
Oh,
I'm talking 60 minutes. Just go. Just go.
oh, chills. Absolutely. Oh my God, that is brilliant. Yeah. Both of those guys can work with a broomstick. I
Yep.
think Daniel Bryan is making a really good take, or Brian Danielson. Oh, I can't believe I dropped his WWE name. Uh,
We all know you're talking about this.
yeah, but I think the American Dragon is really making a solid case for himself as a Mount Rushmore of all time wrestler. And from what I understand, a great mind behind the business to the point where Tony Khan has been very public saying if something happens to him, it'd be Daniel Bryan that he leaves the company to.
Yeah, I
Uh,
did hear about that. It was very interesting when he said that. But I mean, hey, I'm sure he has his reasons, and I'm sure Brian would absolutely do his best with that for sure.
hmm Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of which, not quite coming back from the dead, but nobody expected Nigel McGuinness to pop back up again and go for another run. Really looking forward to McGuinness and Danielson.
Yeah,
So
that promo the last night was, oh, he is making his case. That's for sure. He is ready to go.
yeah, unfortunately, they don't carry it on TV up here, so I don't get to see Collision, but I will be able to track that down because this has fascinated me. So here's one I thought of that I think would be really, really interesting. Bruiser Brody versus Jay Briscoe.
Yeah, I was getting to a Jay in just a moment actually, but yeah, that would be clash of styles. Be very interesting, but both love to go, and obviously they're different sizes, but they will hit you as hard as they can. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've double tougher than a $2 steak. Pick your JR ism in there. Josh is saying Owen and Jericho in their primes. Absolutely. I mean, Owen's up there, like Danielson, like Eddie. Like, show me a bad Owen Hart match. I dare you. Like,
Please, it's entertain me. Show me one.
yeah.
I'll wait.
I mean, there's stuff where they didn't have a didn't have a lot of time, maybe not getting the best opponents, but we can look at our favorite actors too and go, well, De Niro didn't really need to be in this particular movie, but it's not like he's not working his ass off for it. He's the best part of the movie, you
Mm,
know? And that applies to pro wrestling a lot. It's no different than any team sport. It's like you might be dead last in the league, but if your quarterback is still putting up, 2-3 touchdowns a game, eh, not necessarily his fault. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Um, Sharonica coming in with a Brody versus Owen. Owen's getting a lot of love here. I'm
Yeah,
digging it. I'm proud Canadian up here right now. Yeah, Brody Lee. I have him down for a match on my list as well. But what else you got? What's in your head here?
I'm thinking for another one for me is I would say a Jay Briscoe versus a Owen. I just want to see how those two would mesh.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, it's not necessarily a match probably people have thought of though, but sometimes styles just intrigue me when they kind of clash. Where it's like, oh, this person may be more of a brawler, this person may be more of a technical, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I just kind of want to see what it would
See the
look like.
styles mix.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, you've mentioned brawler versus technical, and I can give you a great example of how well those mix. Look at Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Kurt Angle
yeah,
in the Invade. Like, that was highlight of maybe not the best long-term angle the WWE either did with the Invasion, but yeah, the brawler and the technical guy absolutely worked. Scott Norton and Chris Benoit, uh, same deal.
yeah,
It was the styles make fights, and sometimes if you have styles that are too similar to each other, it just doesn't work. Uh, Kurt Hennig and Shawn Michaels didn't do a whole lot together because their styles were a little too similar. And it
yeah.
just the match didn't sort of mesh as well. So that is a great thing. So here's one, and this one occurred to me late in the week, and the psychology behind this, the theatrical aspect of it, whether you do an in-ring match or something like the Firefly Funhouse cinematic style or out in the graveyard, Kevin Sullivan and Bray Wyatt.
Mm, that is a very interesting one. And hell, I still struggle with this sometimes. I even forget sometimes Bray is no longer with us sometimes. Like, it's so weird,
Mm-hmm.
so bizarre, man.
Yeah, and that he went so young.
Yeah.
I believe it was a heart thing that happened. Um, I've read that maybe COVID did not help, but whatever underlying problem it was, or exasperated it, or something. But that's never been confirmed to me. Obviously, didn't look it up. Not on speaking terms with any of his family members. But yeah, when they pass so young, you think of maybe extracurricular issues, but that was just a legitimate sickness, like Brody Lee, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's COVID, it's COVID." They're just not saying it's COVID. No, he had a lung thing, um, and his late wife was pretty open about it down the line. I think she was on Talk Is Jericho and really explained it, and that was a tough listen if anybody's heard it. Sharonica is dropping in from Georgia. Go Dogs. Scott Hall versus Roman.
Mm,
Ah,
very interesting.
yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
Um, Scott Hall versus Drew McIntyre. Let's see who's got the better razor's edge. Or no, pardon me, not McIntyre. Priest. Priest is who I'm thinking of.
Yeah, that's all like
Um,
priest. Yeah, that's
yeah,
no, I got you.
yeah. It's the other large, long-haired dude.
Yeah, I think one more I actually did have, and it's not necessarily um because of match wise. I
Hmm.
would just love to see them go toe to toe on the mic. I'm sure they have a pretty good match as well, but it's just more so the promo. Roddy Piper and John Moxley.
Oh, oh yeah. I mean, you're good at this. I'm getting chills from that one. I got Piper down in a couple of spots on my list, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can see that starting with a Piper's Pit.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Um, oh yeah, because if and Moxley is no slouch on his promos either. I mean, he doesn't necessarily get the credit he deserves for that,
Hmm.
but yeah, he can draw money with his mouth. That sounded weird. I really like that one. I really like that match.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
yeah, I
I'm
can.
sure they have a pretty good match. I mean, I know Piper's not known necessarily for his ring work, more of his mic work, though. But I think, like, if you give him the right opponent, the right story, and the right motive behind it, oh, he would get in there and just
Mhm.
go at it.
And go back and look. The Piper can go. Piper will get down and dirty. He'll get in the mud and the blood and the guts with you. Go find
Mhm.
that Greg Hammer Valentine Roddy Piper dog collar match. Like they weren't messing around.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, Sharonica, I know she loved that one. She loves Moxley.
Yep. I mean, I'm glad Mox is back. Personally, I think I'm really interested to see where the whole Moxley kicking kicking Brian Danielson out of the BCC, even though we know he's kind of winding down. How Pac fits all into all of it, how
Hmm.
Wheeler fits into all of it. Yeah, I think that's going to be absolutely mind blowing long term storytelling there. Hopefully, hopefully they don't just rush it because this is a problem because everybody has 45 hours of TV per week. Um,
Yeah.
here's one I thought would be an interesting clash of styles. Brody Lee and Randy Savage.
Mm. Randy Savage and Brody Wheeler. Yeah. I don't think they never wrestled, I don't think, have they? Like,
No, well, I mean, Brody came along. Savage was already in his Santa Claus phase um, by the time Brody had even started wrestling.
yeah.
And I mean, Savage passed away in 2011, I think. Somebody will correct me on that. So we've been missing the Macho Man for quite a long time, even though he lives on in merch and memes and the fact that everybody can't can do a Macho Man impression or think they can. And Lord knows if you get on that cruise ship, you're going to see 50 Randy Savage costumes.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm here for it. I mean, I think it really shows the respect that that man's name and impact still have. Because you don't see a whole lot of Hulk Hogan costumes on there, but yeah, like 50 Savage costumes at least. And I think with Brody's reputation as a really good worker, being really easy to work with, it might be a situation with Randy whereas he was very detail oriented, very concerned with how everything looks, it could go up there with the way he dealt with DDP and just brought him to that extra level, really proved that no, you belong on the top shelf. You don't need to be down there just stuck in that position on the undercard. You can come up here and play with the big boys. And Randy had that reputation of, yeah, I'll work with him. I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I just thought of one more actually.
Yeah, go for it.
It's a tag match. They're all of them are gone, unfortunately. So I'm not sure if they actually went toe to toe in the tag match. I'm not 100% sure because my knowledge for wrestling goes. I started watching in '99. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know everything that went on in the 70s, 80s, and I try to do my research I can, but I would say a tag team match with the Wild Samoans versus a Stan Hansen and Brody Lee.
Ooh, Stan and Brody. That's yeah. I mean that right there tells me nobody's coming out of there without bruises.
Nope.
That's because the Samoans were no joke. They'll do business with you properly, but you're gonna know you were at work. I like that one. Yeah, definitely can see that being a barn burner. As far as tag teams go, they missed each other because they weren't in the same company, and the Bulldogs had kind of gone their separate ways by the time there was a shot at it. The Bulldogs and the Road Warriors.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. They just missed each other. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they could do like an angle like Booker T and Edge did back in the day where it was they're fighting over a shampoo commercial. It's like you grab my box of vitamins, dude. Four big dudes that clearly enjoyed their vitamins. It's like, no, those were my vitamins, and those vitamins don't often lead to, well, they're not mood stabilizers, shall we say? So
Yeah. Oh man, no, that's a good one right there, though. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's just so many stuff like that, especially when you also include wrestlers who are no longer with us, with people like today. Like,
yeah,
I would say, I mean, I don't think this necessarily counts because only one of them is no longer with us, unfortunately.
that's fine.
But this would have been a match that I would literally hand you a blank check with my name on it and be like, write down any number you want and I'll pay to see this match in person. Usos versus the Briscoes. I'm just like, here.
Oh yeah.
Here. And it sucks we never got that.
Yeah.
Man.
Sharonica, Mox, and Savage versus the Road Warriors. Absolutely. But it was funny. In an earlier iteration of this show, I was discussing it with my buddy Chris, who long overdue for a return to the show, by the way. We were talking about post WrestleMania, surprises coming in, matches we would like to see coming out of, I think it was WrestleMania 38. But yeah, that was the exact match I picked as who could take the titles off the Usos, bring in the Briscoes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, again, I'm with you. If they had put that on the Survivor Series card, I'd be out $6,000. Absolutely. I'd been like, yeah, well, cancel the cruise because we ain't going now. No, I only got one seat. Sorry.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's just like, I'm paying for my seat. Y'all on your own.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what y'all are up to that day, but I got to go do a thing, and then I will not be sleeping because I'm going to be driving Uber for the rest of my life
Yeah. Yes, I
to
always
pay
said
for it.
that's why I always said Briscoes, greatest tag team, never make it to a national stage. So,
I
but
would agree with that.
I love what Mark is doing. I'm happy Mark got that huge opportunity he's got right now. He's doing
Hmm.
his thing. He's killing it. I'm happy for him. So
And I hope with the position he's in that we get to hang out and have conversations with him in January. I don't think he's. I think he's a wonderful addition um, to the roster. I absolutely dig the Briscoes. They were one of the people I was really excited to see on the first cruise. Jay could not have been nicer to me.
mm,
We had a brief chat on the pool deck. We took photos. Um, and, we have a mutual friend that was very good friends with them and says nothing but good things and still wrestles with a J armband on.
yeah, hundred
So,
percent.
um, yeah, just wonderful human beings, scary badasses when the camera's on or the ring gear is on, but just could not have been nicer. And it was such a tragedy. I think it's a huge saving grace that we only lost Jay in that accident.
Hundred
I'm
percent.
glad his kids have recovered. It it yeah, it's one of those senseless ones. It really is. But uh, and it's the work they could have done with the work they did do with FTR.
My
Um,
God,
like that dog collar match was insane.
so good, so good.
Just they were right there with the Usos. It could have been that's a close night 2 WrestleMania match, right? Like you put it on the card. There's not one single wrestling fan that wouldn't go, absolutely. What do you need? What exactly what you said.
Yeah,
Here's the check.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
yeah.
It was one of those things too. Like I think even if Jay was still here, I think eventually he would have went with Mark, and it would get that thing in AEW. But
Hmm.
if for some reason they were free agents today or something like that, especially how WWE is now, I
Hmm.
could see maybe Triple H probably trying to bring him in, but like, look, guys, like Usos waiting for me. I'm sure Usos would love to have that.
Oh
Like, we
God, yeah.
waiting on y'all. Like, let's go.
I know there was some stupid problematic tweet that was keeping the Briscoes out of the limelight for a while there. Um,
Yeah, I think it was something Jay said or something
yeah,
years.
it was definitely something Jay said that like, and it goes back to the beginning of the show. It was controversial. I don't know the exact nature of what he said, but there was something there where it's like, oh no, we can't have that kind of an attitude on our TV show any more than we can have an intergender match on the TV show. It's like, but I have grown since then as a human. I should not have said that, and it sadly it took him passing before that dropped. But I think in the current environment, he probably could have pulled that off. I think you're exactly right. Um, I mean, Lord knows the WWE has brought in guys that have checkered pasts and has sort of gotten over it. Not going to name names, but brother, let me tell
I
you,
will. I
brother.
will. I will. Excuse me. Did I say that out loud? Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did.
Uh, so Sharonika's got another one here. China versus Rhea. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That
Yes.
that is a good call. Um, those are two powerful women and two very, very popular women. I mean, China's one of those ones. She was just stuck in that rut. I mean, sure, she had, Jackie and Ivory in there when she was sitting on top that could give her good matches, but for the most part, Sable was really not getting it done. Trish was not ready. Lita was not ready. And, the guys, either they wouldn't work with her or they couldn't put her on TV. But yeah, like China versus Rhea, and just look at some of these, like China versus so many of the women today, really. China and Camille, China and Naya. Somebody's gonna get hurt in that one. But yeah, like China's one of those ones. It's just she missed the prime spot for the female talent to be featured. It was short matches, but yeah, China and yeah, you could just pick a name off of any roster. I could definitely see China and Ronda Rousey could have been a decent thing.
Yeah,
Um,
that definitely could have been something for sure. Like that definitely would have had me intrigued because I know Ronda nowadays, get a lot of heat from fans. I get it,
mhm,
but like she did very well for a time there in WWE, and they
mhm.
definitely could. That definitely could have been something right there. So that would have been a
Yep,
fun.
and Ronda's like you said, she's getting some heat, but she's speaking her mind, and it's coming on the heels of some pretty gnarly revelations that have been coming out of that, and the people that she is saying were not her favorite coworkers, shall we say, or bosses. So, I mean, I'm sorry she didn't have as much enjoyment out of it as she was hoping. I enjoyed her work. I didn't see a problem with it. I thought when they finally turned her heel and she was just being a bitch to everybody was perfect.
Hmm.
Loved watching her and Shayna. Absolutely loved it. I mean,
Yeah.
that was one of them tags. You know what? And there's one. I'm going to pull this one. Shayna and Ronda versus May and Moolah.
Oh man, that would be interesting.
Right?
Wow, interesting
So have
personalities there.
Yeah, like that's and I can just see it because I mean Bubba Dudley tells the story a lot where he's like, yeah, I tried to protect her, and May says, if you do not lay this in, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna whoop your ass, son. Um, and that's saying a lot. You don't really want to get in Bully Ray's face like that, but this 70, 80-year-old woman's like, if you don't lay this shit in, you and I are gonna have a problem.
Oh Lord knows she can do that to anybody, and every dude would have the same answer. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yep, that's Bully's story is consistent. He's like, I said, yes, ma'am, because she had me by the wrist, and I could tell she was not messing around. I'm like, that's tough as shit right there. Um, so yeah, all right. So we're just closing in on an hour. Any final ones off the top of your head? Anything you got?
Man,
Any comments in general about what's going on with wrestling?
no, man, those most of those I came up honestly at the top of my head. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you told me, you know, about about that topic too, though, and at that time I was trying to think of some, and I thought of a couple, and then the last few just came off the top of my head. But man, it's always nice to reflect and talk about those. But as far as wrestling, it's the same, man. I'm grateful we got all this product. It's so much wrestling on every week. Everybody's
Mm-hmm.
making money. Everybody's doing their thing. It's great. Of course, we got Bad Blood here in a couple weeks here in
Oh
ATL,
yeah.
which I don't know if anybody already saw this though, but SmackDown, that
Yep.
segment between Roman and Cody, cinema, ladies and gentlemen. That's what the
Yep.
kids call cinema. Just gonna leave it there.
I haven't seen it yet, but it is definitely on my to-do list after I move a hot tub. Yeah, I mean, Sharonica's got it. She's out there in Georgia with you. Wrestling is thriving. It is the boom period, and I don't think this boom period came in the way anybody thought. Everybody was expecting it's like, oh, we're gonna have the rise of another Austin or Rock or Hogan. No, it wasn't that. It was the diversity. It was the multiple channels, the streaming, and it is just smoking along, and I am here for it. I can go and see indie shows up the road. I can jump on YouTube. I got access to New Japan, Ring of Honor, AEW, WWE. It is fantastic, and people are popping up left, right, and center. Big shout out to somebody that is out there killing it, trying to put a proper punctuation mark on his career. I cannot wait to see where it goes. JBL.
Oh, that came out of left field. I was like, he's doing what? Where is he? His dad came out of nowhere.
What's going on to the queen of the DEC? Hello, Taryn. Thanks for popping in.
Hi,
Just
Taryn, my buddy. I love her to death.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just great to see everybody doing their thing. Like it's wrestling is at a peak again. I mean, to me, I think a Roman and Cody, this feud they've been having is almost to a level of Rome, Austin and Rock, almost to a
Mhm.
degree, not quite there, but it's just that promo. It's like they just have this chemistry, like
Yes.
it's just there, and it's just these two big stars, and everybody's elevating on it. LA Knight's on the come up, and Rhea, and it's just everybody's putting in work and doing their thing. So it's just great to see.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not a, just to steal the term, there's not a lot of daylight in anybody's game right now. Everybody's firing. Um, even if it's just sort of a one-off match or a throw together just to fill a segment, everybody's firing. Everybody's coming out. Chad Gable is absolutely killing it. The Creed brothers are killing it. AEW's roster is all over the place. We have Penta and Ray Phoenix moving companies. Like,
Yeah.
I'm here for it. There's so much. I wish I had more time in the day. I really do. I mean, the worst thing that my job could do is put Wi-Fi in the building, because I'd be like, oh, nope, I'm watching wrestling on my phone all day now. Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm with you. Like, we are in a boom period that we haven't seen probably since the early 2000s.
All right. I just want to give a quick shout out to this one tag team before we even go,
Yeah.
though. Just finished watching Collision the other night. I just want to say the rise of these two gentlemen that we had
Oh, please say what I think you're going to say.
on the last cruise, on the first cruise. We were partying with them till 6 a.m. And it's great to see them get an opportunity. Their pops are getting louder every single week. I'm talking about the youngest tag team in the game right now. It's just
The
the
most-
Outrunners,
Yes.
Turbo Floyd, Truth Magnum, just killing it, man.
Mhm.
Let's get back on the cruise again. I just love seeing what they're doing, man. Shout out to those guys. They are just rolling right now.
Absolutely. And you know what? I agree. They were one of the guys, they were in the atrium all night long, and they weren't like super wild out of control. You could have a conversation with them, you could pal around, you could joke. They were very friendly, and they were amazing. And they did something on that cruise in one of their matches that I thought was brilliant. And I'm going to throw that in there as the last dream match. They came out dressed as the Mega Powers. Outrunners, Mega Powers. Book it.
There you go. Nice.
Right? That's fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Jamal, thank you very much. Unfortunately, we lost a couple people last minute, but that's fine. They are always welcome back. You know who you are. If you would like to join in on a future episode of Cheap Seat Booking, just hit me up. Use my DMs on Facebook or the show page. Or the At the Inn page, where we are doing most of our broadcasting from now. Just let me know you want to come on. We'll figure it out. I do not always have a set time for this, because I am very cognizant of I have people all over the world that would like to get in on this, and time zones are a thing. So thank you, Jamal, for spending your lunch hour with me. I'm going to go have another cup of coffee and move a hot tub. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And come back in 2 weeks. I will think of some topics and we will announce it. Keep an eye out. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Watch some wrestling, because it is fun.
Absolutely.
But remember, when you're scrolling and you see that tribalism, it's all pro wrestling, you dickheads.
Exactly.